This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here with Mariko Tajiri from That's Life Gourmet in Vancouver, and we are here today to speak about sake and shochu. So let's start with sake. Sake is something I've been introduced to through the wonderful man who is known as Michael Pataran, and it's something that I still, after all these years, don't know too much about. How can you explain the recent renaissance, I guess, in fine sake and what makes for a fine sake?
I think a major reason for the renaissance of sake would be the rise of Japanese cuisine. Recently, the Japanese cuisine has been given a UNESCO World Heritage certification. That's really piqued a lot of interest. People like even David Chang and very important chefs talking a lot about Japanese cuisine and ingredients and techniques. That's really piqued some interest in the Japanese culinary world. And with that, hopefully, is an interest in sake. I think that's happening for sure with sake, premium sake, shochu, beer as well. And I think also the fact that the world is going towards more, the food world at least, is going towards more, more artistic, carefully made products. And things where you know who's making it, there's stories behind the products. So I think that's the couple reasons behind the revival of sake.
Well, speaking about artisanal production, all of the shochu and the sake that we have been tasting with you have definitely been very much of that kind. Most of the sake that I had tasted in the past was of the much more commercial sort. What is it that distinguishes very commercial sake from this finer artisanal product?
There's a few answers to that. I think the one big one is with anything, with quantity versus quality. With the big guys, you're trying to make more. You're trying to make more money, you're trying to have more brand recognition. So the first thing with sake is that the rice, which is what sake is made from, needs to be polished down. So when you polish the sake rice down very little, you can make more sake with less, without taking away anything from the ingredients. So, but when you polish away less rice, you make a little bit more, rougher, less refined sakes. When you polish away more of the outside layers of the rice, you're getting more clear, more elegant, more concentrated sakes. And that's a big reason why premium sake tastes so different from the commercially made sakes.
Now, the question that people always ask is, what is the correct temperature for serving sake?
The unfortunate answer is not very easy. It's not direct. It depends on the sake. But it shouldn't be super cold and it shouldn't be super hot. So when you have really, really cold wine, you also can't taste very much out of a wine glass. With sake as well, if it's too cold, then you're not going to taste very much of it. So a good place to start is if you see a sake that says ginjo. Ginjo sakes are a bit more fruity, a little bit more aromatic, and those ones are good at white wine temperatures, right? So not straight out of the fridge, but maybe about 20 minutes out of the fridge. That would be great. And you can also experiment with sake. You can have full of body sakes like this one we just had today, and you can warm that. But if you ever microwave a sake, I feel like a brewer dies somewhere in the world because they're so sad that you've done that. If you're going to warm sake, please use a pot with hot water, warm water, and put your sake in there.
Hold on, rewind for 1 second. People actually microwave sake to get it warm for service?
They do. Quite a few places do, and it's awful because you can't control the temperature, obviously. And so often it gets way too hot and you get hot and cold spots in the sake bottle. As well, you're breaking down a lot of the, breaking apart the sake really, so I don't recommend it whatsoever. Some people claim that they just don't have the space to warm sake in a restaurant, but I think everyone has a pot and everyone has water, so there's no reason for that.
So speaking about restaurants, the obvious thing to have with sake would be sushi and sashimi and the like, and Japanese cuisine. Now, I know that in your travels you've been experimenting with sake with all types of different cuisines. Please give us a few ideas about what we should be serving our sake with.
Sake has a lot less acidity and of course no tannins, so it's really easy to pair with food. Things like cheese like we had, charcuterie, they're all really delicious. If you have a sake with a lot of umami, so more bottom notes, more full-bodied sakes, it's delicious with sausage and pate and cheese. If you have a more aromatic, light, fresh sake, you can have that with a goat cheese salad with fresh peaches, for example. And that would be lovely. Seafood, of course, is an easy choice. But even with a sashimi platter, you have lots of different sashimi. They all taste different, from uni to mackerel to tuna. So with that kind of variety on your plate, you do need to be careful what sake you choose, even though it is sake and sashimi, which seems really easy, but quite difficult.
So as well as sake, you bring in something called shochu. Now, shochu is rather different to sake. Please explain a little bit about that.
So shochu is a distilled spirit. So sake is brewed, more like beer than anything, but brewed in its own way. And shochu is distilled. It is very carefully regulated. You can only distill it once, and it's all about the ingredients. So what you use in order to make the mash that is distilled eventually is where the flavor comes from. So if you use a sweet potato of one variety versus the other, you're going to get very different flavors. It's about 25% in alcohol. It's usually 25 or 40% depending on the aging process and what point you collect the shochu. But it is a very versatile, very aromatic spirit as well.
So shochu is sometimes referred to as Japanese vodka, but that's a bit of a misnomer, is it not?
It really is. With vodka, I think the point of many distillers, their objectives is to try to get it as neutral as possible, to not get much flavor out, to be as palatable as possible. Now with shochu, they're really caring a lot about the raw ingredients and what the base tastes like. So if it's a sweet potato of one variety versus another, they really want to keep the integrity of that potato in the shochu, in the final product. So it's very honest, it's very true, it's very pure. And people talk about different potatoes tasting differently in the shochu. Whereas with vodka, you don't want that taste at all.
Now, we've spoken about how one would integrate sake into the dinner table, I guess, onto the dinner table. How would one do the same with shochu?
An easy place for it would be cocktails. I wouldn't want to put too much, lychee flavor or Midori green into any of these. But you could do, I think, a very simple cocktail just with a few ingredients. Or you could do it just with ice. I think I would prefer to have it neat or with a little bit of water, a bit of ice in a grappa glass or something that you can get the aromatics out, because that's, a big part of the product.
Mariko, thank you very much for joining us today at Good Food Revolution. We very much look forward to tasting both your sake and your shochu in the future, as we enjoyed them a great deal today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. Bye-bye.